A city like London is sociable in a sense that there are people gathering in bars and restaurants, concerts and lectures. Yet you can partake of all these experiences and never say hello to anyone new. And one of the things that all religions do is take groups of strangers into a space and say it is okay to talk to each other. I'm a big foodie. Hyderabadi cuisine is amazing, and the kind of mutton dishes available at some restaurants in the old city is incredible. There are so many memories for me in Manchester. Everywhere I go, I think, I used to have boutiques here, clubs there, restaurants in that area. In Singapore, there is this life and locals and restaurants and then big casinos and an array of chefs, and even Miami is almost close to Vegas when it comes to an amazing presentation of chefs. But they don't have these massive hotels that have become their own culinary villages. The Nation of Islam's main focus was teaching black pride and self-awareness. Why should we keep trying to force ourselves into white restaurants and schools when white people didn't want us? Why not clean up our own neighborhoods and schools instead of trying to move out of them and into white people's neighborhoods? My aunt is a famous LA chef, Susan Feniger, and she's got street and border grill. So a fun night out for me is to go to my aunt's restaurants. The person earning the federal minimum wage of $7.25 isn't going out to eat at restaurants. They're not taking piano lessons. They're not going to the gym or the yoga studio. They're not sending mom flowers on Mother's Day. What good is this person in the economy? If you raise it to $15 an hour, they're doing all of those things. I'm convinced that the main reason we've become so obsessed with restaurants is due to our basic need to get out of virtual space and into a real one. We're not going out to eat merely to share food, we're there to sit at the same table together, slow down, breathe the same air. My husband Farhan Azmi is a restaurateur and owns 3 restaurants in Mumbai. After we got married, we started planning a cafe, chai coffee, and got busy in executing it. It is not easy to open a restaurant. I always wanted to get into the business of restaurants and was fortunate enough that Farhan's knowledge taught me a lot of things. It is difficult to get organic food at most restaurants, so when possible, eat at home. When not, do your best. When our employees walk in the morning, they see food. They have to cook. At the restaurants, we chop cilantro, onions, and limes 2 or 3 times a day. We make guacamole from fresh avocados. The separate water foundations, park benches, bathrooms and restaurants of the Jim Crow South startled me. These experiences motivated my lifelong study of the status of African Americans and the sources of improvement in that status. I love to see the smiles on people's faces when you cook for them. I love to go to different restaurants. I want to cook because I know this acting isn't going to last forever, and I want something to fall back on. It's another way to make people smile. Maybe there are too many restaurants. Maybe some of mine need to close. So be it. I'll live with the marketplace. When you go out to restaurants, you get your go-to. When you go to KFC or you go to Nando's, you get your go-to. I've got a furniture range with my wife, and I want to get into designing hotels and restaurants as well. We've got a big studio in Victoria and a showroom in Belgravia. I've always been interested in architecture. I know what it's like to be famous. It's good money and it's great fun. A real kick in the pants. People wave at you and smile at you. You get great tables in restaurants. They send you gifts, beautiful clothes and cars. I never subscribe to the stay-at-home policy. I'm not sick of the road or sick of eating in good restaurants around the country. I like to travel. I went from living in the Dominican Republic, every day, my mom and I would cook, or we'd go hang out with the kids, to flying a private jet to Chicago with Zac Efron and Dennis Quaid. People had champagne, and they were going to these amazing restaurants. It was a culture shock. It's important, I think, to have that, to see both sides. I do not like fancy or chain restaurants. I live for local spots. Behind every small business, there's a story worth knowing. All the corner shops in our towns and cities, the restaurants, cleaners, gyms, hair salons, hardware stores, these didn't come out of nowhere. I didn't want to be short. I've tried to pretend that being a short guy didn't matter. I tried to make up for being short by affecting a strut, by adopting the voice of a much bigger man, by spending more money than I made, by tipping double or triple at bars and restaurants, by dating tall, beautiful women. As the global expansion of Indian and Chinese restaurants suggests, xenophobia is directed against foreign people, not foreign cultural imports. Of course you can't trust what people tell you on the web any more than you can trust what people tell you on megaphones, postcards, or in restaurants. Working out the social politics of who you can trust and why is, quite literally, what a very large part of our brain has evolved to do. I definitely try to eat a healthy diet, but I am the first person to say I love unhealthy food. I would never tell you I don't. I love fried chicken or mac and cheese. Do I order them all the time when I'm out at restaurants? No, though I do have one splurge meal a week. In the very beginning, we went on tours with Rammstein in really small clubs. We didn't even have a record out. We played in restaurants and pubs in the south of Germany. Dating involves being witty and charming and making reservations at fabulous restaurants. Marriage involves compromise, something that sounded to me like a combo of castor oil and settling. We live life in restaurants. It's the center of social life, where we celebrate with family and friends, make new friends, travel without traveling, and of course, eat. I spend 80% of my time in my restaurants. Taping my TV shows doesn't take much time, and then they get aired a lot. That's the thing people don't realize. Honestly, I just go to restaurants to eat so I won't die. If there was a pill I could take in January and then I wouldn't have to eat again for the rest of the year, I would take it. Of course, I wouldn't want to sacrifice my chocolate cake and ice cream. My desire to curtail undue freedom of speech extends only to such public areas as restaurants, airports, streets, hotel lobbies, parks, and department stores. Verbal exchanges between consenting adults in private are as of little interest to me as they probably are to them. When I'm getting ready for a movie, let's just say my diet is the antisocial diet. I don't go to restaurants. I don't eat what I really want to eat. I don't eat much. I eat small things frequently. Lots of protein and greens. And I don't eat with people, because there's a tendency to get social and then to overeat. A-frame became an expression of creating a place where everyone would feel comfortable, even if you were made to feel uncomfortable in restaurants before. It's a place where I explored my own insecurities as far as being mistreated in restaurants or being given the worst table. I go to the fanciest restaurants in the world and try them out. I like to see these chefs that are wizards do their thing. I like two types of food, cheap fast food, In-N-Out Burger, Taco Bell, stuff like that, or expensive food. Anything in between just bothers me. People feel like they know you because they've read about you, and people who don't know me seem to have warm feelings about me. I seem to be popular with women. I go into the loo in restaurants, and they all say, "Oh, I love you." It's odd, but it's really nice, too. The best food is in Chicago. There are great restaurants everywhere, from fancy places to burger joints. I've got a brother who works for the Red Cross, another brother is working with the homeless in France, some who work in restaurants or as teachers and dental technicians. My twin brother Merlin is an artist. I think human beings thrive on communication, and pubs and restaurants are a great way of communicating, a great way of enjoying each other. I think my level of fame will drop back down. I think it'll recede. In fact, I know it will. That's life on planet Earth, and I'm okay with that. Besides getting tables at restaurants and special treatment at the airport, what else is there? Having been to Europe and working and traveling there, the restaurants my wife and I remember were always off-the-beaten trail restaurants. So I tried to seek a little off-the-beaten trail, but cool area. Inspiration is around you. Like, when I travel any country, be it Paris or London, while walking on the streets, the architecture, the restaurants all inspire me. Inspiration for design could be anywhere. My mom would take me to restaurants, and the first thing I'd ask for would be a pen and a napkin, and I'd sketch shoes and shoes and shoes. McDonald's revolutionized fast food. They introduced a way to eat food without knives, forks, or plates. Most fast foods can be eaten while steering the wheel of a car, and the restaurants are usually drive-through. I am a terrible chef. I'm not a good cook. I don't have the talent, the patience, the desire even to cook the way these great artists that I meet around the world cook, and I'm very, very happy to support them. I invest in restaurants because I love them so much. At the end of drama school, I made a contract with myself. I'd try acting for 5 years. I was 26. I had already spent 8 years working in restaurants and gas stations. So I had seen enough small businesses to understand that that's what acting is, a small business. I developed trust, and I think it's the most important to my growth. If my restaurants are always full and my books sell, it's this trust. Here in Russia, in many cities, people are irritated by Caucasian intrusion. Caucasians come from foreign countries, they are ubiquitous, in markets, shops, hotels, restaurants. They misbehave, and in this sense we have feelings similar to those that the Germans have toward the Turks and the French toward Algerians. As his celebrity grew in stature, as he transformed from line cook to chef at Les Halles and further high-grade Manhattan restaurants to charismatic television star, I kept hoping, foolishly, perhaps, that Bourdain might return to his first writing love, to the books he wrote and published when his audience was smaller but still devoted. My mother and sisters cooked Italian food, and I never heard of half of the dishes you see in these Italian restaurants. I just go in and order spaghetti. I had talked for years about doing a restaurant with Rocky Dudum, who's been my friend since I first came to San Francisco. Then Rocky's son, Jeff, said he wanted to design it, so he traveled around the country to sports restaurants like Mickey Mantle's and Michael Jordan's, and he came up with a great concept. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.